orange sheet possibly if you don't remember, so you might want to have that available to yourself. Yes, I gave it to you. Did I give you an orange sheet yesterday? Alright, good. Let's get you the new one, because I taught you the new way, right? Alright, so take one and pass it that way. You can put this on top of your yellow one. I'm going to say this. Some people still prefer the old way, the one on the yellow sheet. If you want to do it that way and do all that alpha F1, you are more than welcome to do that, okay? I am not a teacher that says, I'm showing it this way, you have to do it this way. I am the teacher that says, as long as you have a system and it works, that's all I care about, okay? And that you can show me how it works, all right? So, yes ma'am. You want a yellow one? You should have had the yellow one behind the purple one. But this would go on top of it if you would go behind the purple chart, okay? Would be your yellow and your orange chart now. There again, you can do it whichever way you choose. So here we go. Alright, either way. I'm going to show you a few of these and get you started and define some terms. Do the following for the given set of rational numbers. Write the fraction, decimal, percent form of each rational number. Indicate two consecutive integers. Values for each rational number is between. So, here's my rational number. It looks like a decimal, but it's not simplified. So we want to take it and completely simplify it. Turn on your calculator. Put in your number with parentheses, 0.3 parentheses. Everybody remember how to put in that square? It's on the x squared. And just hit enter. And it's going to simplify that for you. So now you have your decimal form. Okay, so 0.09. Okay? Now, this is where things get different. If I need a fraction, what am I going to do? Does anybody remember from yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
A decimal to a fraction. Zane. Put in your decimal. Uh-huh. And it's, right, decimal to fraction. Enter your decimal number. Now, when I say your decimal number, remember that we are only going to enter the parts, not the wholes. All right? So this doesn't have any holes, so we can enter the whole thing, 0.09, and then we're going to press math. And we're going to press, because the fraction is already highlighted, enter, enter, and there it is, 9/100ths. And some of you already know that, I know that, but I'm just trying to show you how you would do it. Now, if you want to use that alpha F1, go right ahead, but this, for me, is much easier. Now, I need that decimal to a percent. Yes, if you know Dr. Pepper really well, go right ahead and use it. If you don't, remember that a decimal number is always going to look smaller than a percent, okay? So you need to make it bigger. And how do we make anything bigger? We times, okay? And that's on here also. Decimal to percent is on here. Enter the decimal, push multiply by 100, and hit enter. All right? So we're going to put in 0.09 times 100 in our calculator. You're going to hit enter, and everybody's doing it right. You're not just letting me do the work. What I'm trying to say here is the more you practice and punch the numbers, the more it will become second nature to you. All right? So you're going to hit enter, and it's 9. Now, it is not a percent until I do what? Add the percent sign. Now, let's talk about what consecutive integers are. Number one, who can define what an integer is? Caleb?
They're usually negative.
No. Good try, but no.
Then not after that, they have to do it.
Wait. That's the other piece, but no. So let me define it for you. Negative and positive whole numbers, which include 0. Okay? So, because whole numbers include 0, natural numbers or counting numbers don't include 0. So, negative and positive whole numbers and including 0 is kind of how we say that. So, when I want consecutive, does anybody know what that word means? Consecutive is one after the other, okay? So, if I was to go to my number line, and you always want to do it with your decimal, and I have 0.09, I have a number line on the right-hand side of this room, okay? So you can look up there. Where would you put 0.09? Do I have a whole number yet? No. So what two consecutive integers would you place this on a number line between? Is it a negative? Okay. So it would go between what? I heard it 0 and 1. That simple. Okay? When you have negatives, make sure you include them. And what I would do on this form is this. Is this a decimal, fraction, or percent? So I'd go ahead and write negative 1.2. Okay? Is this a decimal, fraction, or percent? Negative 0.9. I would fill in what I can fill in. What is this? A decimal or a percent? It's a percent. 56.25%. What about this? 0.583 with your line over it. It's a decimal. Please be filling these out as we're going because I'm trying to help you out. What about this? 0.0625 is a decimal. This is your fraction. You will never leave improper fractions in this class, okay? So negative 1 and 2/5. Percent, 91 point, it doesn't have a decimal. It's 91 and 2/3%. And we're going to do that one together. And we're going to do one other together. And this one, what did I just say? We're not going to leave improper fractions. So how can I change that to a regular fraction? Divide. I heard somebody say it. So I'm going to put in negative 11 divided by 5. And I'm going to get negative 2.2. Oh, no, I don't want that. Oh, I'm so bad. All right, that's my, well, I already figured out what my decimal is now, didn't I? Negative 2.2. But if I wanted that as a fraction, negative 11 divided by 5, how do I keep anything as a fraction now? What's that perfect key I want to hit? Math. And it's already highlighted. Enter, enter, and I get what? Oh, because I put a point instead of a negative sign. Divided by 5, and I hit math, enter, enter, and I get, oh my goodness, that's not what I want.
Negative 2 with the whole number is negative 2 with 1/5.
Right, because I would take it from here and write down my negative 2 and do 0.2 math, enter, enter. And I get my 1/5.
Yeah, math doesn't work always.
Okay? It always works. I just forgot I'm writing my whole number down and only converting my parts. So if I have negative 0.2, math, enter, enter, I get negative 1/5. Okay? All right. We're going to do a couple of these because I know some are going to be more difficult than others. So we're going to try this one. In order to get it to be a decimal, right now I can convert that to a decimal form percent by doing, I have a whole number of 91, correct? And I have 2 divided by 3, and I want a decimal, so I'm just going to divide it, and I get what? 6 repeating, but that is a percent. Okay? That is still a percent. So now I can convert that very easily to a decimal by doing Dr. Pepper or by doing 91.66666666666, right? And what am I going to do? Divide by 100, and I get 0.916 repeating. So 0.916 repeating. Now to change that to a fraction, remember you cannot ignore that repeating decimal. So 0.916666666, and this is where you are going to hit math, enter, enter, and what do you get?
11/12.
And 11/12 is your fraction. Okay? So when you get to this, how are you going to get your fraction?
You put it in 0.58333333.
Everybody good with that? Caleb, how are you going to get your fraction? Okay, but you got to put your 3's all the way across, okay? Everybody good with that? All right. Otherwise, you will get a different answer. If I was to here just put 0.916 and do math, enter, enter, I get a completely different answer than what the real answer is. Okay? So make sure if you have a repeated decimal that you carry it all the way across. All right, let's look at this. It's a negative, right? So what 2 consecutive integers is it between? -1 and -2 is your correct answer. Okay? And make sure you make those negative signs nice and dark. Okay? All right, let's check the second part on the bottom. It's not as difficult as it looks. First off, when you compare numbers, always compare using decimals. All right? You will never go wrong if you compare numbers using decimals. It says, give a rational number that is between each given pair of rational numbers. Justify your response. You love justifying, right? Because most teachers say that's a sentence, correct? Okay, in this class, it is your work, it is your math that justifies your response. All right? Unless I tell you differently, and in 8th grade, it will just be your math. So, I have 9/16. So what I'm going to do is convert that to a decimal. 9 divided by 16, and I get so right here on the top of the box, I'm going to write 0.5625. Okay? Then the other fraction is 7/12. So 7 divided by 12, enter, gives me 0.583. And only because I'm comparing, I'll probably take it out 4 places. I wouldn't normally, but that 3 is repeating, correct? Okay? So what I'm looking for is something, and everybody could have a different answer that would fit between those 2 decimals. It is unlimited, the number of answers you could have. Josue, which one do you see that would fit there? What number could go right between those 2? They both have a 5, right? What's the difference here? So I could just make it easy and write 0.57. I could make it more interesting and write 0.563, couldn't I? I could write 0.5626. I could write 0.56256 or 1. I mean, there is an unlimited number of numbers. Everybody sees that? But everybody's number could be different. That's okay. All right? It's just you have to show me something, and the reason that you put these here is because you're looking for, if you notice, it's really easy to compare and find something in between. Does that make sense? Okay? So if you set up the other two the same way, you will be just fine and dandy. And if you notice, all of these are up in here. So you really don't even have to do the calculations. Once you have the decimal form, you can just compare them here and find something that will go between. Okay? Does that make sense to you? So in other words, 1 and negative 1 and 2/5 is right here. So once you find the decimal form, all you have to do is come down and write it here, don't you? Okay? All right? So this is not that difficult. So get to work. And I will be around to help you if you need help.